Hi, Bethany Warren here, and you've joined us for the return of the magnificent monthly Millwall No One Likes Us Talking podcast. It's a new team with a just as entertaining show. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the No One Likes Us Talking monthly podcast. Join us again. We've got Henry Morgan and that legend that is Phil Coleman. Right, tonight we'll be discussing what to do about Wallace. And then in the second part of the show, we'll be looking at our top three most random Millwall players. But before we get started, we're going to listen to our friend of the show, Kai Bennett, who wanted to give his insight into the January transfer window.
Hello, I'm Kai, and I should be talking a little bit about the season so far for the Lions, how we can maybe improve going forward, and then maybe what I'd like to see go on in January if I have a wish list. Let's get started. Obviously, the season today has been quite, I think the word for it is inconsistent. We haven't been able to really, every time we've managed to get in touching distance with those playoffs, we've managed to, either lose a game, draw a game, or drop points in some way, and manage not quite get over the line and get into those playoffs yet this season. So it's been frustrating in that sort of context. That's been annoying, and probably, arguably, that's probably the most frustrating thing so far this season. But we have put in some good performances this year, in fairness. Obviously, just 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whenever this, obviously, at the time of film, it's about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago now, we beat Birmingham City 3-1 at the Den, in what was, in my opinion, the best performance of the season, and maybe even the last couple of seasons. I thought we were brilliant. I thought the attacking play was fantastic. You could see we were on the front foot. We wanted the ball. We worked hard. We tackled really well. We won at most second balls, and we just looked very, very good. And that was really exciting. It was a really good, performance. And then what happens the next week against Peterborough? It just sort of does sum up our season a little bit. It's a bit inconsistent. We weren't great against Peterborough. We weren't great at all. So we've got the lead, we've got our noses in front. Good bit of play, fantastic build-up play from us. Ball comes out wide, knocked over from Scotty Malone. Jeb Wallace heads it on. And he runs down the channel, puts a nice little left-foot cross into the box, and Tom Bradshaw does the rest. It was a perfectly good finish, a perfectly good move, and a really good goal. It's after that we couldn't quite get a foothold in the game. Peterborough still came at us, a team that hadn't scored, and I think it was 7.5 hours of football. And they looked like they weren't going to score in the first half. They had many chances and couldn't quite, beat Bart. And then second half, about 65 minutes in, I think it was, they just sort of came to life. Scored like 2 goals in about 4 or 5 minutes. And, and that sort of, for me, it was frustrating because we were ahead and we had made points for the playoff. We gained on the playoffs again. And we sort of let it go. And I think that sort of sums up our season. The sort of inconsistent nature of nearly being there. We're nearly in the playoff hunt. We're nearly in the playoffs. And then we just sort of can't quite get over the line to sort of secure it. So, a long way to go in the season, though. A lot of reasons to be positive. In my opinion, this is the best squad we've had in a number of years. I think this squad is brilliant. In terms of the depth we've got on it, obviously Daniel Ballard and Ryan Leonard being out, is annoying, it's frustrating, because obviously they're very good players for us. But in terms of the squad we have, it's a really good squad. We've got some really good players. Tom Bradshaw's hitting a purple patch right now. It's 3-3. I think it's 5. Might even be 5-5 starts. If that's right, something like that. It's definitely 5 or 6 for the season as well. So he's doing well. He's proving that if you give him service, he'll score goals. So in that way, our strikers are looking dangerous. Like Benakofobi again, looking dangerous. Jeb Wallace is providing the numbers. Obviously, it's more and more speculation of to where Jeb Wallace will be next season. I'm quite an optimistic person for everyone that knows me or heard of me on podcasts and stuff. I'm quite an optimistic person, and I'm hopeful that he'll stay. I really do hope he'll stay. He's a big player for us. And it's really, really key, as everyone will know. It's really key to keep hold of him. But we need to maybe potentially look for someone, a replacement, if there is an indication that he's not going to stay, and get that sorted early. But as for January, I'd like to see maybe a left winger, Mason Bennett and Shea Ojo. Obviously not getting an extended run of the team right now. We're not really playing that formation, but I'd like to see someone wide on the left, sort of whip those balls into Jed, to Bennett and Bradshaw. I think if we play like a 4-4-2 and put Jed on the right, someone on the left, either Mason Bennett or Shea Ojo, I think that would work really well. But if he doesn't fancy them, then maybe a winger, or maybe even a central attacking midfielder, someone to sort of create something for the two strikers, and then get Jed on the wing, so have someone even more, have more danger in terms of, if Jed's on the wing, they've got to mark him, and they also got to mark the central attacking midfielder, so that will cause, it could cause havoc. But no, the second half of the season, it's got potential to be exciting. The players need to, step up the level of consistency a bit more, because if we can put a couple of really good performances on the back of one another, there's no reason why we can't go all the way this year and make the playoffs. No, and I believe that. But first of all, we need to improve, especially defensively. 4 clean sheets this year is obviously very different to a Millwall we've known for a few years now. We've prided ourselves on defence and we haven't really lived up this year to the levels we've set ourselves. So that needs to improve. I'm sure it will. But first of all, we need to find that level of consistency. And once we do that, I think we'll be okay. So yeah, let's hope for a good second half of the season. And let's hope we can. I know quite optimistic this is, but let's hope we can make the playoffs.
Cheers, Kai. So I think he makes some really good points there. Obviously, the up and down with the Birmingham result, and then the low point of being Peterborough. What's your thoughts, Henry?
Evening, Gaz. Evening, Phil.
Evening.
I think I don't want to be the harbinger of doom, but I think I'm gonna say a few things here, which just stuff that has come out over the last few weeks. Look, I think the team. Kai quite rightly says it, inconsistent. I would say schizophrenic. I think the team. I don't understand how you can go from the Birmingham City performance, which was first half, played them off the park, all grit, all determination, better quality in every facet. Second half, we needed to hang on for periods. We hung on in there. We managed to set ourselves up. Great bit of skill from Danny Mack to set up George Evans, who scores a beautifully, well-worked goal into the top left-hand corner. And we were on the podcast last Thursday talking about us, kicking on and really thinking about the playoffs. We then go to Peterborough and go 1-0 up and become a side that can no longer coherently play against one another and get out-muscled and get out-Millwalled by Peterborough, just like we did at the Den last season against Derby. And I think maybe that's to do with injuries, maybe that's to do with a bit of complacency, but I just think it's, it's so disappointing. And again, I want to make it clear that I am in absolutely no way saying anything to do with changing managers or anything like that, but it's an unacceptable performance in the second half. And when you've got 2,300 people making a long journey up to Peterborough 3 weeks before Christmas, you have got to respect that and do better on the pitch as a professional. Now, maybe there are things going on off the pitch we don't know about, but if I look at the performances of two players who I think have done very well this year, and I'm not digging them out or singling them out because there were a lot of poor performances in that second half, but Danny Mack and Billy Mitchell looked like two players that had never played football. I mean, I know that, bookings and whatever, but that is where, if we want to make the playoffs, we need those sorts of players to become more and more consistent so that they are playing a bit more like the Birmingham game than they were in against Peterborough. The other thing I would say is, and I think this is a massive issue for January, is our losses were announced over the last 3 years by Kieran Maguire, if you want to go and look them up. But last season, we lost £13.5 million, which must be the most in the club's history. And that's being backfilled by John Berylson, obviously. And I just don't see how there is any space there for wages or expenditure unless, and I know we're going to go on and talk about this, someone like Jed was to move on and it was to able to create some of that money, and I just don't see it. So I think as well, with injuries that we've currently got at the back, and like Kai quite rightly pointed out, we're just not keeping clean sheets this season, and we are being schizophrenic in a very poor championship division. I think it's a great opportunity for us to go and make the playoffs this year. I just can't see us doing it. Not with this, given this inconsistency. I know there's a lot of football left to play, but we need a lot of luck, I think, in order to do that.
Can't disagree with any of that. I'm going to put my point in now before I hand over to the voice of reason in Phil, but I find it very frustrating. I love my club. I'm struggling vehemently over the weekend when we do lose, because you get these keyboard warriors left, right and centre saying sack this, drop that.
Yeah,
Phil summed it up left, right and centre at the weekend when he said, who gave us the God-willing right to win every single game? Not even Man City win every bloody game. Excuse my French. You know what I mean? I just want some normalism. It's like half our supporters in recent times started supporting us after 2004. They don't
completely
remember.
agree, mate.
I don't remember
Administration.
Yeah, I don't remember administration. I don't remember relegations. Look, if you look at the stats, probably 7 seasons since 2004, we've actually been in Division 1. And where are those people then? You know what I mean? Or maybe more. It's been tough, but we have had some good successes over the last few years. And to be honest, we've consolidated. We are probably like a, for want of a better way of putting it, trying to think of a Premier League side that's probably middle table, always there or thereabouts.
Arsenal, Gaz.
Arsenal, but more honestly about like you could say Leicester, because they're now that solid team. Okay, they won the league that season, but they're now a good, solid Premier League side, and that's what we are now. We people say we're punching above our weight, and we probably are in terms of our wages, but we have a good Championship side now. We've got Championship players that are now solid Championship players. We haven't got a team that's only just been promoted like Coventry or Peterborough and stuff like that. Because look at a lot of teams are being found out, and I think I said it on here before. If you look at the Premier League, I can see Leeds getting relegated this year because they've been found out. We haven't been found out as much because we've managed to consolidate over the last few seasons and become a good solid side by bringing in a good manager like Gary Rowett. I know people have shouted at me for saying that as well, but I do think he's a good solid manager. But he was a defender. He knows how to defend. He has. If one thing we need to bring in January is a better attacking coach, because I think that's where we're lacking. I'd like to see a new striker. Yes, I would. Sorry to say, Ojo, you can go back. You're not bringing nothing to the table. I think we've seen the last Stanley Ballard, so it might be saying au revoir, send his wages back.
Shame.
It is a real shame. But you never know, we might be able to get him next year. He might sign a new contract, he might come again. You never know. But I just feel there is 3 or 4 players missing for that push, Kai. But as you just said, Henry, have we got the money? And maybe it's being dealt with differently. Maybe the losses, and I want to ask Phil a question about financial fair play in a minute, because I don't fully understand it as well as I should, and how we lose 13 million. Does that affect us in financial fair play? I'll leave that one for you in a minute, Phil. But okay. I do feel, and I hope, the wages and transfer is a different pot to the day-to-day pot, if you know what I mean. So hopefully there's a separate pot over there, and the day-to-day is dealt with differently with sponsorships and stuff like that, and etc. I don't know, but I'm kind of thinking maybe that's how I'd do it, because as much as we're losing, you still need money in the pot to be able to grow the team at the same time. But is that where financial fair play comes in, Phil?
Yeah, good evening, guys. I'll touch on the financial fair play because I don't fully understand it, but I've got a general overview of it. I watched the Bournemouth and the Birmingham game, and they're the 2 best performances I've seen, although I thought we were good against Stoke. And there's been games where we've been in it all season. Most of the teams in this league are almost on a par with us, scoring 22, conceding 21. I think I worked out there's about 14 teams who've got something very similar to that. It is a league where everybody, and I keep on saying this, everybody can beat everybody. We are going to win some. And as soon as you do that, the expectations go through the roof. This team has been built to be where we are, about 11th in the Championship. If you'd have said to older generations, they'd bite your hand off for that because we've been a lot lower. Some of the younger fans, I think we're pushing on now. We're going to get into the Premier League because we've just won. We've drawn against top of the table Bournemouth and we've beaten Birmingham, and now we're going to win the league. That is human nature. That is a professional footballer's nature. That is the manager's nature. We want to kick on. Unfortunately, some fans, including myself, we forget about the opposition. We forget about Darren Ferguson, the manager at Peterborough. Darren Ferguson changed his formation the minute he saw what Millwall were lining up with, and he played a diamond. Now, I don't care about shapes and formations, but I do care about one team's formation doesn't suit another. And if you get it right, you win. If you get it wrong, you lose. And when he's quoting as saying, I looked at Millwall's shape, 4-4-2, and I played a diamond, and I put my fastest striker up front, I'm beginning to see what I always know is that, please, Millwall fans, give the opposition some credit. This is not a Mickey Mouse league.
Agreed.
This is not League One. We are not playing against teams that are we're going to wipe the floor with. We're playing against damn good sides that, A, are never going to give up. If they've got an astute manager and a coach, they're going to try and do something different to beat us. They will have their analysts, they will have their scouts watching us over 2 or 3 games. What's probably helped us is Gary Rowett's changed the formation several times already. He's played so many different players and so many. Now, that could be unsettling, but it could also be Gary has got an eye on the longer game. It does not help when no 2 games are the same. Credit the opposition, as I've already said. They changed their ways, a bit of a game of chess. But you've got injuries, you've got suspensions. Gary Rowett will be looking at people on the training ground every week, every day, 2, 3, 4 hours a day around the camp, and he doesn't like what he's seeing, so he leaves them out. There's confidence, and then there's one word which I've always believed in: attitude. If you have a great performance against Bournemouth and you have a great performance against Birmingham and you turn up at Peterborough and you just think you're going to beat them, you get your backside kicked. And it's every single player that Millwall's got has got to play every single game at 100%. So I agree with Kai and I agree with you, Gary and Henry. We've been inconsistent. I would like us to be persistent. 100% every player, 100% in every game. Knock the attitude off, because if Peterborough raise their attitude by 10% and Millwall go down 10%, that's a 20% difference. That's huge in professional football. So can we be persistently 100% in every... Now, I'm not sure some of the players are capable of playing 4 or 5 games at that intensity. And that is an intensity that's needed just to survive in the Championship. Yeah. So great. Intensity, the capability of being that intense for that period of time. I just want to chuck another one in. I've seen so many comments, fans want attacking football. And then they want more players in midfield. And then they want it to be tighter at the back. And then they want wingers. And then they want wing backs to get further forward. Hang on a minute, guys, we're only allowed 11 players on the pitch. And then we're going to be matched by 11 of their players. So you can't have everything. If you want a tight team that draws 0-0 and wins 1-0 and mid-table, but if you start going and looking for goals, you could get your backside kicked and lose 2-1. So that is a manager's dilemma. That's what Gary Rowett's paid for. But he's damned if he does and damned if he don't, because as I say, they want attacking football. Then they want more players in midfield to shore it all up. And, Gary Rowett has also had some serious injuries. To lose Ballard, there's the reason why I think we started the season so well.
Just to say at that point, Phil, it's so refreshing that we've got Wallace. Really,
absolutely. Murray is a jack of all trades. He could probably play centre back. He could probably play wing back. But if you're looking at fine margins, for me, and I've had this chat with 1 or 2 fans, I'm not sure we have the pace at the back to play a high line. Because if Darren Ferguson was true, I didn't see the game, I've seen the highlights. I saw the Bournemouth game live and I saw the Birmingham game live, and we did push up and we did play a high line. Now, was that because those 2 teams didn't... I mean, the guy up front, Solanke, he's not quick, he's not going to cause us any problems over the top. He still scored, but that was his experience. So there are games when we might be able to push up and hold a high line because the opposition is not going to strike.
Well, Birmingham had a 36-year-old striker up front as well, didn't they? In Troy Deeney.
And he dropped into the pocket in the second half and caused mayhem because he got in between the defenders and the midfield using his experience and a little bit of interchange. So these teams are setting up to try and beat us. We're setting up. Gary Rowett has changed the formation so many times. I've lost track of what he's done. 3-5-2, 5-3-2. He's played one up front. He's played five across the middle. He's trying to win games by utilising the squad that he's got, the tactics that he knows. That's incredibly difficult when you've probably only got 2 or 3 days on the training ground between games. But it's worked so far. We're sitting in the mid-table. It's a championship side. It has been improved since we got promotion. But don't expect the opposition to roll over and die for us because that is just not going to happen. No. And as I say, when you start getting injuries, suspensions, a little bit of attitude creeping in perhaps. I look at Bournemouth. They're top of the league, but they've won 1 in 6. What are their fans thinking when their players are earning a bloody fortune compared to ours?
Oh, yeah.
So be thankful for what we've got. I get the expectation, but as I say, credit the opposition. No 2 games are the same, and my doubt is, can the players maintain an intensity that the Championship desires week in, week out? Because you can play brilliant against Fulham and brilliant against Bournemouth, but if you're getting beat by Peterborough, there's something wrong. And I personally think it's that intensity every week. You can't maintain it. And you mentioned, I think Henry mentioned about Danny Mack and Billy Mitchell. That's what you get with young players.
Yes.
2 or 3 amazing games, and then they just cannot maintain it. They are physically drained. Mentally, they're trying to play catch up. If they had a 30-year-old's brain with all that experience, they would learn how to cut corners and how to save their legs. And I think there'll be a time when those 2 might play 6, drop out for a couple of weeks and bring them back fresh again. So there's a bit of man management needed.
Do you think that was, you're talking about man management, do you think then maybe it was a game too far that Rowett put him in for? Do you think that maybe fell on his...
When you see how good they were against Birmingham, you leave them in.
Yeah.
Because their confidence, those boys will be absolutely buzzing. I know when I was playing and you're 18, 20, 21 years old, you want to play every game. But I also remember the time when I had about half a dozen good games and George Petty took me in the tunnel and he said, I'm dropping you today. And I nearly ripped his head off. And I thought, I'm only a kid here and the manager's dropping me and I'm having to go at him. Trust me, son, I know what I'm doing. And I had to trust him. And he was doing that. He was dropping me out to give me a break because if not, these young kids can be burnt out mentally more than physically because they are fit as fiddles. But it's an awful big arse to play every single week at that intensity in the Championship without...
You can look at what Man City were doing with Foden as well.
Yeah.
They were saying, why is he not playing every week? But he weren't. He was building him up. And you're absolutely right, Phil. Yeah.
I think if Gary Rowett has seen the length of this season, there are 46 cup finals, plus Crystal Palace, plus Portsmouth, plus these games are coming thick and fast. I'll give them a credit. They're looked after. They have the best diet. They have the best nutrition. They have the best of training. They've got bowling green pitches now. I mean, that pitch, there's not a divot on the damn thing for £1 million, the hybrid pitch, so they've got the best of everything. But it is such a fast, intense game. No game is easy. You are not going to go out there and say, right, we can just stroll around today and win 5-0. Never going to happen in the Championship. It is brutal every single game. Some little upstart's going to try and get at you. The experienced lads, as you've seen, Troy Deeney, are going to get at you. So it is a tough league. But I've seen Gary Rowett change the team. He's brought Bradshaw never started. He's come on. If he drops a phobia out for a couple of games. So there's a bit of me says Gary Rowett might be playing the long game here. He might be looking at each player 50 games. We can't do it. We just cannot have that intensity over that period of time. So is he looking at March, April, May, when the players are pretty still fresh compared to some teams that have just bashed the hell out of their first 11? So there's a bit of me that says he might be doing that as well. And I think that's good because it is good man management to just keep them fresh across the whole season, the bigger picture.
Brilliant. And on that note, we'll take a break and listen to the Proper Blokes Club.
Hello, I'm Scott and I founded the Proper Blokes Club. What is that I hear you say? Well, it's for men who have experienced or going through a tough time. and fancy going for a walk and a talk. Or it could be you just want to get back on top of your game, maybe feeling lonely, or you could even be new to the area and just want to get out for a walk and a talk. This could be for you. So if you'd like to join us, we run sessions every Thursday, Sunday, starting at HMS Belfast, walking along the Thames up towards Surrey Quays. Thursday start time is 6 o'clock and Sunday start time is 6:30. If you guys are on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, find the Proper Blokes Club, give it a like, give it a follow, tag and share with your friends, or if you'd like to do it the old fashioned way, you can call Scott on 07397 501110. That's 07397 501110, and we can make arrangements for you to come along. So I look forward to seeing you joining us soon at the Proper Blokes Club.
I'm Gary Staff, and I'm back with the No One Likes Us Talking monthly podcast team of Henry Morgan and Phil Coleman. So, gents, mid-season January transfer window coming up. I know we've just been talking about that at the start of the show, but we're going to be a little bit more specific now and talk about Jed Wallace, our talisman. Should he stay or should he go? I'm going to put it out there straight away. If we can get the right money, for obvious reasons, I think he should go. But I will follow up my arguments once I've heard from you two guys. And who wants to go first?
I don't mind. Phil, do you want to go first? I mean, I'll just... Gaz, before we do start though, mate, what you said for the right money, for you, what's the right money? And this is personal, mate. I'm not trying to have a dig at you. I'm just saying, what do you think the right money is? Right.
So I'm going to look at the long game for what he's done over the last 4 or 5 years. I think he's currently sitting fifth in the double-double, as they say, of assists and goals scored. And for a right winger, which is basically what he isn't doing too bad in that stats. I think he sits fifth in the top 2 leagues in all divisions or something stupid like that. So on that value, and I don't know how old he is. He must, is he 27, 28 now?
Yeah, 27,
He needs his big payday. So I would say if we don't get, or we should, I know he's only got 6 months in his contract, but the value he is to the club, if he's going to go, I think we should only be accepting at least 5. At least 5.
Yeah, okay.
And if Saville went for, what did he go for, 8, I think that's cheap. Because Saville is not half the player he is now. Because I think, and I don't think he's going to go to a top Premier League club. I think he'd go to a lower league like a Brighton or a Villa or something like that, or maybe even a Burnley, where we'll fit in. And can you imagine him under Dyche at Burnley? I think he'd excel. And having someone like Woods in the middle with him, that would be a perfect partnership for him. So, look, between 5 and 8, I would be more than happy. But put some money in the coffers, buy some more players. But the problem is, don't do a deal like we did with Middlesbrough. Get that money straight away so we can spend it straight away, and then we can go and drive on the team. Like old Benjamin Bloom always says, look, sometimes you have to sell your best players. Look what Brentford did. I've done it over 2-3 seasons, buying, selling, having a good backroom team to go and buy those right players, and it worked for them because buying the right players has got them promoted. So I would say between 5 and 8 to push on and buy the right players. Go on then, Henry. What's your thoughts now?
I just don't think we can afford to lose him, and I just don't think that we'd spend that money wisely enough. Like we brought him in for what? I mean, I can't even find the transfer fee, but it's between £300,000 and £600,000. I think we brought him in the end from Wolverhampton.
Was it Wolves? I thought it was Portsmouth. Or was he on loan at Portsmouth? Was he?
He played for Portsmouth and basically cut his teeth, won them promotion, scored 17 goals for Portsmouth, and then was sold on to Wolverhampton and was at Wolves for 3 seasons, but on loan to us for 2 of those, and then obviously we took him in 2017. So he had 12 appearances in his first loan spell, 16 in a second, and he's currently played just a shade under 230 games for the Lions.
Wow.
Scored 29 goals. I mean, he's played a lot for us, and he's obviously been very good. I just, I totally understand why people want to get money for him. I think if we do, if we do want to try and make the playoffs, I think he'll be key to it. I think if we lost him, I just can't see us in January replacing a like-for-like player. I don't see that there's anyone out there. I mean, obviously, there will be individuals, I guess, but I just don't see us using that money particularly well. How much of it would just get soaked up by the 13.6 million pound that we've made in losses? And also, he plays with a lot of passion and aggression for Millwall, and I think he's fantastic. I guess would he? I think one of the sensible places for him to go for me feels like Scotland. I know that there's been talk about Celtic and or Rangers looking at him in depth in the summer. And you go up there and you get some European football, wouldn't you? And you get to play at a level where, the Scottish Premiership is what it is. It's got two massive teams at the top of it for most of the time, but you do get to potentially play some European football, which you might not get if you went to Burnley and all the other teams that he's been linked with down there. I mean, I even, dare I say, saw Crystal Palace and West Ham's names being floated around when there was transfer speculation. So I can't see him getting into the West Ham side at the moment, given their current situation, but maybe someone like Crystal Palace. And has everyone seen that? Obviously, he's got an injury, inverted commas, going into this weekend, and he's a doubt to play.
Really? He's okay. Actually, while I just chuck it out there, I've just been looking at transfermarket.co.uk. They value him at 6.3 million.
6.3, million. Yes.
And it was 315,000 we bought him from Wolves for.
Which, I mean, it's just
for a player of his category. His total transfer fee is 348,000, which is ridiculous for how good he is.
Neil
Harris, super Neil. Phil, what do you think?
That's value for money over 200 games. Good grief.
Yes.
There's unfortunately, it's Gary. I think you asked about financial fair play. So, as I understand it, football income, gate money, and sales of your pies and beers around the ground, that money is what you're meant to be paying the players' wages with.
Right.
So if you're getting 13,000 crowds, you've got to keep your wage structure within that income.
Yeah.
Now, I have no idea how the naming of a stadium, the Etihad, I've no idea how this extra money comes in to pay players' wages, because I'm sure Man United, Man City are paying far more than their 40,000 crowds, or in Man United's case, it's a lot bigger. But as I understand it, gate-related fan income is how you pay players' wages. I won't bore you with the great examples of Derby County and Sheffield Wednesday and so on and so forth, but and Bury, great little club in Manchester, I feel for those fans, because if it goes the wrong way, Bolton, you have no club. So if there's a 13 million deficit, the club will be looking at it, John Belson will be looking at it, but you cannot go spending money on players' wages that you haven't got, as I understand it, from that income. Jed Wallace, fans might not like it, but a player these days holds all the cards. In January, the club are going to get some money for him, or they're going to get Jed signing a new contract in the summer, or there'll be no money and no Jed in the summer. And that's the reality. They're the facts. What I would say, if you're going to get a fee for him, and I know this will be going on, Gary Rowett and the club and all his associates, I'll call them scouts, call them what you like, they will have the replacements lined up. I would be amazed if they haven't got a replacement goalkeeper lined up, a right back lined up, a centre back lined up. They are looking all the time to try and find players to replace somebody in the transfer window next summer, in the event of Ballard injured for the rest of the season, in the event of Jed Wallace. What you need to say is, if we want X player to replace Jed and he costs 3 million, we will get 3 million. So we're not going to take 2 million and then we're going to have to find another million because we want this player to replace him. So By the way, there are very few golden nuggets. I see fans, surely we can get one out of Division 1 and Division 2. Listen, I spoke to a mate of mine a few years ago. Everton had 200 scouts trawling this country to find that golden nugget. Are we really going to compete with 200 scouts from Everton? They're all looking for the golden nugget from Division 1. They're all looking for a golden nugget from non-league. There's a tremendous striker playing, Paul Mullin. He's banging in goals for Wrexham. They signed him from Cambridge. They doubled his wages. Is Paul Mullin going to step up to the league? Is our lad at Sutton on loan going to step up into this league? So everybody's got these questions. They're all trying to find these replacements. Some cost an awful lot of money. So if Jed goes, the replacement, I would guarantee it will be lined up. But there's another debate that I'll throw in. Is Jed Wallace good enough for the Premier League? And we've used the word consistent tonight already. Is he good enough for another Championship club who will double his wages and realistically be at the top of the league?
Let me ask you a question there, Phil, then.
Yeah.
Right. Is he being trained, if you say, is he good enough for the Premier League? And I'm going to chuck in one name as my replacement for Jed Wallace in a minute. Is it a case of he's only being trained for the Premier League, for the Championship? If he went to a Scottish or a Burnley or a West Ham or whoever, has he got enough in him at the age of 27 to then take that step up to be a Premier League player and be trained as a Premier League player? You make a point there. Is he just a Championship player because he's only trained to that level at the moment?
You would ask yourself about, I take Jed Wallace and I put him on a 3-year contract at a Premier League club, and I will be asking this: is he fit enough? Is he quick enough? What's his decision making like? Can he replicate what he's currently doing against the Chelseas and the Tottenham defenders and the Man United defenders and the Liverpool defenders of this world? Is he going to make an impact on my club? And I don't get 3 million, 4 million, 5 million is not a lot of money whatsoever for a top club. Even the bottom of the league, if you go to Norwich, £3-4 million for Jed Wallace is not a lot. But can he replicate what he's doing in this league at that level, where it is quicker, it's more physical?
Here's a question, though. You're saying that about Jed. Ivan Toney did it quite comfortably, and he was playing first division football not 2-3 seasons ago.
Well, that's
it's very different.
It's not even 64,000. It's the £1 billion question. Can they step up? And then you have to be brave in your decision making as a manager. Yes, I can see something in him. Is Jed Wallace going to score 10, 12 goals a year in the Premier League? Is he going to get 20 at Fulham alongside putting the ball in for Mitrovic? This type of play. Where would you see Jed Wallace playing in your setup? Because at the moment, he's creating, he's scoring over a long period of time. He is pretty consistent. He has the dips from now. I see a couple of games where I think, why is he on the pitch? He's just not contributing. And then he puts a 25-yard free kick in the top corner. That's why you're playing Jed Wallace. Now, can you do that at West Brom, Fulham, Bournemouth, where he's probably going to go on to 40,000 a week wages? And I'm not daft enough to think Millwall paying 40,000 a week wages. So he might go to West Brom as using West Brom as an example, and he might double his. And then there's the player himself. I've got no doubt that Jed is ambitious. Jed would love Millwall to get promoted. Jed would love to see them at the top fighting for trophies and cups and everything else. Every player is ambitious. So when Jed Wallace, and I think somebody might have said as he had his head turned, I've never come across a professional footballer that's had his head turned. Yeah, all they do is play to the best of their ability every single match, and they have ambition, and then they let other people make the decisions on them. Jed will be playing his heart out. He will do absolutely everything possible because he knows if he plays well, he's going to get a big move. He's going to get a dream move. He'll be driving a Ferrari and living in a multi-million-pound lifestyle if he plays hard, if he plays well. So he's not having his head turned. He's not going to take it easy because clubs will switch off him. They'll just go off him straight away. If Jed just holds back for a couple of games because he's had his head turned in inverted commas, you think clubs are going to come looking for him? He will be stuck at Millwall because of his own making. So he's going to be going balls out to make sure that he plays well every week. In his head, he will be, without a shadow of a doubt, will be ambitious. He will want to play at a top Championship club where they're always fighting at the top of the league. And you know those clubs already. Could he make the Premier League? That's the $10 million question. And then how much are we going to get for him? I promise you, they will be looking at his replacements. They will be lining up the first pick, the second pick, the third pick. They'll probably look within. Is Mason Bennett playing every single week instead of Jed Wallace? Is that the answer? I don't know.
I would chuck
No,
in
at
the
all.
one player that I would go and buy, and it might be a strange one, but John Swift from Reading. I think he is a very, very good player. When he played against us a couple of weeks ago for Reading, and look, he's been at Reading, 4 seasons now, 165 games, 28 goals. Pretty much the same sort of questions of asking around Jed Wallace. Mm-hmm. If you could go in and if you wanted to make that push, he's the type of player I feel we should be buying. And that what they offer for him.
Sorry, Gary, I'll just counter that because contracts are a pain if you want to buy a player. You've got to wait for him. The club that's got him will be offering him better money, so there's that loyalty, do I stay? And then you've got signings and loans are tough. How much do they want for that player? If he's under 23, there will be a clause in there which says there's compensation due. It's not going to be 10 million for a kid. It's going to be a lot less. So you've got the contracts. Millwall have got players on 2 or 3 year contracts, and Gary Rowett is waiting for those contracts to run out because players can stick their time out and take the money, do everything asked of them on the training ground, sit on the bench every game, sit in the stand every game, and see out their time and never work, never have another job. 3 years in the Championship on the average wages, and a player will never work again. The football pension that they pick up at the age of 35, it's amazing what these contracts do. So you've got to get rid of the contracts. You've got to say, how much am I going to pay in a transfer fee? How much does this kid earn now, and what is he looking for Reading to Millwall or even a lower club to Millwall? And loans are probably even tougher because there's clauses in some of these loans deals now which state that the kid's got to play every single game or Millwall got to give him 200 grand or whatever the compensation figure will be. So if he's on loan for 3 months and there's 12 games, he must play in all 12 games. No manager worth their salt is going to agree to that. But these are the contracts. These are the small print that you've got to deal with.
Saying that, Phil, I was watching the Macclesfield thing with what's his name?
Robbie Savage.
Robbie, yeah.
Brilliant watch. But even at that level, they said they were getting kids coming up to them saying, "I want you to buy my mum's food for the rest of the year," and it was like in January or something for me to sign for you. Sorry, but at that level, you should be wanting to play in football. What are some of these people and these? And he said they've got agents who are trying to get as much.
Without a doubt.
And that
Gary,
level,
there are 16-year-olds have got agents, 15-year-olds have got agents. They sign them on, and there's a clause there which says, in the event you make it big. And I know of a player, a Premier League club up north, I won't say anymore, where the boy was given, in his contract, a new mobile phone every 6 months. That's the craziest thing I've heard in a contract. And I've also heard that mum and dad have to have a new house with no mortgage. The boy has to have a sponsored car. And these are 17-year-olds signing their first professional contract. These are the lengths. This is what entices them to stay. So it is a tough world in terms of contracts, loans, the small print, shall we call it. But I think Millwall have got to keep their best players. And if Gary Rowett and the club saying that Jed Wallace is their best player, they will have to make him a great offer. On our last show, I mentioned Chris Wood. And I know the club busted the wage structure to try and keep him. And whatever Millwall's wage structure was in 2013-14, Leicester offered him 30 grand a week. Well, you can't compete with that. Even back then, that's huge. And Leicester, he's gone on and he's been in the Premier League ever since. So these are the deals that you've got. Could Millwall afford in the current financial COVID? Could they afford to pay Jed Wallace double, even 10 grand a week more than whatever he's on? And I don't know what he's on.
Though, Phil, he said they had the discussion at the beginning of the year. Why are they not had that conversation up until? Why are they not having that conversation every week now? Rolling that out. Why is there a gap from the fact that when they offered the original contract back in January to try and, or whenever it was, in the summer, to try and get him to re-sign for another 2-3 years, knowing he had 6 months or a year left on his contract? Why has he turned around and said, look, I'm happy at Millwall, I'll deal with it when I deal with it? Why is it not being, the club saying, right, Why can't we just get this done? Why
I think
is it dragging on so long?
it's going to drag on because Jed will have an agent. If he's not got an agent, I'll be absolutely amazed. I'll fall over. His agent will be talking to club probably weekly. Jed will not be. Jed will be focusing on turning up on time for training hard, playing hard, getting points, scoring goals. Somebody else is doing the talking for him. And if you look at professional boxers, there's a manager that's doing we don't want to fight in London, we want to fight in Las Vegas. The poor old boxer's just training every day, oblivious, and then he gets told to fly out. You're fighting him next week for the fee. There's negotiations will be going on behind the scenes throughout the whole of the season. Unfortunately, it's been allowed that his contract is up. And when your contract's up, the rules changed a few years ago. Was it Mr. Bosman? At the end of your contract, you're entitled to a free transfer. And that is exactly why clubs now try to sign players on, even mediocre players, on 4-year contracts, because if they sign them on 1 or 2, they're gone. And so you won't have a squad. So, and once you get 2 years into a 4-year contract, I want you to sign again. So they increase the wages and you just keep your best players. That tells me that Jed backs himself. He's ambitious. He will probably want to see what offers come in. He's got the nap hand. He's holding all the aces. He can go in January for a fee. He can sit and do nothing and still go or stay. So the player from probably 30 years ago, whenever Bosman came out, the players now have more control. And I'll be honest with you, that's probably the right way, because in my time, the clubs, sorry, but I'm going to use the word, pissed all over you. You were dictated to. You were bombed out. It is far better now for players. They have the nap hand compared to what it was 30, 40 years ago. But the club will have replacements lined up. I'm sure they will. And how do they keep your best player without breaking a wage structure? He could get a small pay rise. Will he stay for that? Is his agent hearing that the club has ambitions? Because if I was Jed, I'd be saying we're 11th in the league. You know, we've been pretty consistent for 2 or 3 seasons. How are we going to kick on? I would want to hear that we've got a £10 million striker coming in. We've got a £10 million centre-back coming in. I might just stay. Is that realistic at Millwall and the Den? I don't know. I don't think so. So,
well, let's just fire some. Go on. Let's just chuck some names. I put John Swift out there. Henry, did you have a thought on who you replace him with?
No, and I'll tell you why. I looked at a number of different people. I tried to look for a similar kind of individual that we might bring in on loan. So someone who's maybe got promoted with Wolves or Norwich or someone like that. And then, you know, we could try and sign someone. But I just don't, as Phil said, I think all of those individuals have just been scouted to death. They're just not out there. And if they are, they've got bigger clubs coming after them.
Henry, I'll tell you what I did like the other day, and this will pain me to say it, and fans might not like it. I thought Troy Deeney moving to Birmingham, I know he's from that area, but that is a quality signing.
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
His impact,
I saw that. He's a phenomenal footballer. He's got
and
football
his impact
brain,
on people around him is the same as Ronaldo at Man United. You know, Man United have sold a lot of shirts and they're paying him a lot of money, but the impact that Ronaldo is going to have on the whole of that club, the impact that Troy Deeney will have on Birmingham City, you know, so instead of looking at a 23, 24-year-old and there's a wow and this golden nugget that I call him, you know, there might just be a decent 32-year-old that comes in, and all of a sudden we're talking about this guy playing in the centre of midfield, pulling the strings and bossing the whole game, and we don't need a wow, whizzy, fast winger. We need a Troy Deeney-ish type player. So
here's a thought on that then, right? And I'll take it back to Wayne Rooney. I like, as much as Wayne Rooney was a great striker, I hated him playing for England because I felt Wayne Rooney was always there. Everything had to go through Wayne Rooney. Everything had to do faster. Wayne Rooney. When he wasn't in the team, I felt the team was a lot more relaxed. Since Wayne Rooney has left the England setup, that team pushed on. That team went on to new levels. There wasn't that godlike player who was the be-all and end-all of the England team, and everything he had to play every game. Are we in a situation where maybe Gary Rowett is maybe hoping that Jed does leave so he can change his play, because at the moment, Jed is that player that probably has to start every game. Maybe his agent has said Jed has to play every game, or he's going to disappear. You don't know. Could he be that player that's causing all the problems? And as soon as Jed goes, he can change everything around him, and could be that reason we push on.
I agree with what you said, Gary, because I've seen it. When you build a team around one player, because he's going to get you the 12 goals, 10 goals a year, he's going to create another half a dozen, 8, 9, 10. You have to put 10 around that one, and that one dictates the whole shape. It dictates absolutely everything. If you then go and get a more typical, less wow factor, less 30-yard top corner free kicks type player, and you get, instead of Jed being 10 out of 10, 2 games and then a 6 out, and you get a 7.5 on the right side of midfield, but you get yourself a far better striker up front, or you get yourself a more balanced team, you might just find that you actually do better with a balanced team rather than a team built around one. So I have seen it, and I agree with you. It may well be that case.
And he has been starting to be taken off a few times recently. Maybe Gary is preparing for that going forward. And, sorry, I'm going to say it, but Bradshaw, what a revelation he's been in the last 3-4 games.
It's not a revelation. It's not a revelation to me, because I've seen it. I personally saw it a couple of years ago. He's a hard-working striker that can run into good goal-scoring positions. He's just never had a break. He's never. Well, he's had lots of breaks, but they've been injury-wise. He's broken down.
Agree.
I actually think he's a very, very talented striker. He causes problems for centre. Would I like to mark Bradshaw? No. Would I like to mark Smith? Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Because I don't like people that are running off my shoulder, running in the channels, pulling off. Listen, did you see the goal at Peterborough? He has got from out wide where the left back thought he was marking him, and he's just gone into a space where the left back was left for dead and the centre back was looking at the ball. That is a player that knows where to run, and I think he's got it in him. And it's just, but as I'll keep saying on these shows, it's a devil's own job in the top 20 yards to get the ball into the box and connect all the attacking approach play with that one guy in the box who's marked by 4 defenders or 2 defenders, or someone's pulling his shirt, or the service to Tom Bradshaw is key, but it's in him, and I've seen it, and I think he's now in the team. He's had a run, and also some fans don't get. You can be fit to play football, you can be match fit, and then you can be on the top of your game fit. And Bradshaw is now beginning to be on the top of his game fit, where he's scored a few goals, he's buzzing, he knows where the ball's likely to go, they're feeding it in from each wing, he's darting across people, he's taking up positions in the box. So he's not only match fit, he's now really quite sharp as well. And that comes from a run in the side. And unfortunately, there's quite a few players, because of the way Gary's possibly been protecting players for the 46 games. They're in, they're out, Afobe's up front. But if you give Tom Bradshaw a run in the team, if you link him up with Afobe, can you link him up with a service from the wide players? Can you bed it all in for a spell of games? They become match sharp, not match fit. And that's when you get players at their best. But it's in Tom Bradshaw without a doubt.
Excellent. Brilliant debate there, guys. Right. We're going to move on now and listen to Harvey Brown and the Lions Food Hub.
First of all, let's hear from Harvey Brown.
Have you heard of the Lions Food Hub? It is now located in the Millwall Community Trust car park. That's beside Millwall's Den in Ballina Road. That Millwall Lioness, Kelly Webster, is involved. Don't forget to help the Lions Food Hub if you can. Thank you.
As Harvey said, they need support, and you can help if you can by making a one-off or a regular monetary donation online at Banquet, that is BANKUET. Or on a Saturday, you should make donations pre-match at the hub, about 50 metres down from the Lions store. Alternatively, you can also contact the team via their Twitter and Facebook sites.
Thank you, guys. I'm Gary Staff, and I am back with the No One Likes Us Talking monthly podcast team of Henry Morgan and Phil Coleman. So, right, here's the fun part of the show, guys. and we are going to today talk about Millwall randoms. Look, we know Millwall have had plenty of these in the past, and this is a subject we can go on and on and on about. We've picked our three. I'm going to chuck my three out first, because I'm going to keep it quick and simple, because I know what's following up behind me is absolutely superb. And then we're just going to discuss and chuck in a few randoms that haven't been noticed in our selections. So I'm going to start off with that legend that is Stefan Meyerhofer. And while I was looking up Stefan Meyerhofer this afternoon, guys, he gave up playing football in July 2021. He played for Millwall. I think it was, if I get this right, 2014, and started his career in 1991. So he's pulled up his boots and
22 years.
Yeah, 39 years of age now, and look, I actually quite liked him, and I think it was against Leicester or Middlesbrough. I think it was. We scored the two goals that stand out in his Millwall career. He had two spells with us, and I think people even wanted him back for a third because he was a bit of a legend. So Stefan Meyerhofer, and to be honest, I'm going to have a word with Eamon because I want to try and get hold of him and get him on the show. I think he'd be a good chat. Now we know he has played to 39 years of age. My second one would be the legend that is Bob Peters. He played, I'm trying to think now, how many games did he play for Millwall? He played 25 games for Millwall in the 2003-2005 seasons.
Oh, blimey.
Scoring 3 goals. Unfortunately, I like Bob Peters. Played well for us, but struggled with injuries in his time with us, and then went back off to Genk in Germany. But it's a shame, because I think he could have the potential. And I think at one stage he was sold for £6.25 million. So he wasn't no mug. He knew where the back of the net was. Yeah. And last but not least, my last one is that man, Paul Huberts, who I actually rated as a player as well. We picked him up from AAB. I don't know who they are. They must be Dutch. I think they're
Dutch. I think they're Is it Dutch?
Danish.
I think they're Dutch.
Danish.
Yeah, there we go.
Danish
Dutch.
side. He's played 34 games for us and scored 9 goals. I've got a stat here. I've got to read this out quoting from Wikipedia. So apologies, guys. Hubert's sort of new club, bench time for English club Millwall. He was very popular with Millwall fans and was the most effective when he came on from the bench in the final 20 minutes. He's a bit of a Matt Smith style player back in the day, but he was more famous for when he left Millwall and when he played for Northampton Town, because he had a row with his ex-teammate Neil Harris and ended up getting sent off. So that's a funny stat I noticed and read when I was talking about Paul Hubert. So they're my 3 most random players. I'm going to let it go, but I'm just going to chuck one more in for the end of for now, and let's just start a bit of discussion. Adrian Suriu. We went on tour to Canada. I think Mark Bircham had something to do with that, and we came back with a man with, well, the longest throw in English football. So just chuck Adrian Suriu in there as well. Right, Henry, we go with you first, and then we let Phil talk about his playing partners and players he's seen.
I mean, it's very difficult to be my age and to not remember Port Vale at home in about 1995, 1996. Cold January. The stands were packed for the beginning of the Russian Revolution at the Den. And I've of the 2 players, I've gone for the slightly more random, and God rest his soul, he passed away earlier this year. But Vasily Kulkov, who got more points on his driving licence than he earned for the football club, which has got to be respected, I think, in some motions. I think he got done for drink driving on the Old Kent Road. But I will never, ever forget the sight of a Russian Cyrillic flag at the Coldblow Lane end, not being able to get my usual seat because it was almost a sellout for Port Vale at home that we duly lost. I think, God, they had like Ian Naylor up front or someone like that scored for them. Anyway, beat us 2-1, I think, at the Den that day. Towards the end of Mick McCarthy's time there, but that is one of the most random things. And obviously, Sergei Uran was there as well. I know Phil was going to potentially mention him at the same time, but I thought that Uran scored that absolute screamer of a goal up at Tranmere. And if you haven't seen it, you should YouTube it. It is unreal. But yeah, Vasily Kulkov was he played 6 games for Millwall. The rest of the time he got sent off and was suspended. The next player is, in my opinion, even more random. And he started his Millwall journey by getting sent off on Terry Hurlock's return for Leicester City. Him and Terry Hurlock got into a bit of a punch-up. I think he got his shirt ripped, and both he and Hurlock were sent off. It is David Oldfield, who came on loan to us, scoring a mammoth 6 goals in 17 games, which actually is not bad. But my memory of him came in an end-of-game season at Stoke City where we lost 4-3 in the last minute, but he managed to get a bag of goal in the middle there, which was quite random. And I mean, just totally random play. I mean, he went on to play for Luton and Leicester and various other teams. And the final one is, I would say, probably I could have gone with a lot of other random players, but Phil Stamp, who played one lone game for us. Don't really think he contributed anything. The crowning moment of this, and why I remember it, is that he got so much grief from what was then the East Stand that after he did a particularly good pass, I remember him turning around and grabbing his belly and rubbing it towards everyone in the upper tier of what was then the East Stand. And yeah, we never saw him again. So there we go. Those were my 3. There were loads of others, hanging around on my list. People like Maurice Doyle scoring blinders at Shrewsbury and places like that. But yeah, they are my 3 random players. And I've gone for a big sort of 90s vibe there.
And over to you, Phil. And then we can have a chat about the ones that missed the list later at the end.
Right, okay. I've got a few that missed the list because they're just names where I've gone, what? But we'll come to them. My first one, I was a schoolboy. I just signed schoolboy forms in 1975. And we signed the bloke and it was headlines. And I actually thought as a young schoolboy, this boy's coming in to score goals for us and we're going to win the league. And it was Tony Kelly. And when you sent me the notes for tonight's show, it was random or memories and iconic. And I'm thinking, Tony Kelly, he's plays for Leatherhead. And I think we paid £5,000 for him in 1975. And all of a sudden, he scored a goal on Match of the Day in the FA Cup for Leatherhead. And for some reason in my head, I thought this lad was coming in and he was going to be the next Pele. And I think he scored 10. He scored once in 10 games, and I signed apprentice, and I have no idea where he took. Well, where's Tony? Where's Tony Kelly? Oh, he's gone. So that was really random. I have no idea why I thought that Tony Kelly was coming in as the next best thing striker, but £5,000 from Leatherhead in 1975. So I thought that was a bit random. The next one is random. Peter Anderson. I know he's not a player, but he's a manager. And when he's well documented, and I think a lot of fans who know me know how I think about Peter Anderson. It pains me to even talk about him, but who?
Is he getting a Christmas card, Phil?
No. He might get something else, but he wouldn't get a Christmas card. Peter Anderson, who? Where's he at then? And then he wrecked the club. And if you're looking at iconic and memories and random, as this part of the show is about, I'm thinking, who is he? Never heard of him. What, player manager? Oh, he plays as well. Well, I've never heard of a player manager when I'm sort of 20 years old. But he came from Luton. I've suddenly, worked it out. Peter Anderson, he's a player at Luton, but he came in, and what he did was nothing short of a disaster. So, yeah, when you're talking about random, I thought Peter Anderson was a random appointment, And then my third one is a lad. I'm not sure many fans would know him because I'm not even sure he played in the first team, but I'm going to give a mention to Roger Winter, local lad from Brixton, and I think it was 1983. Roger has played in the London five-a-sides and absolutely smashed the whole competition, scoring goals against top Arsenal, West Ham, top players, top sides. And there's this little tiny 16-year-old kid, amazing feet, unbelievable skill, pace off the mark, could dribble past anybody like any Dutch international. And I was fortunate enough to be training at the time with, I was in between clubs, just keeping myself fit under Jules Graham. And Roger's there, training every day as an apprentice. I mean, the boy was amazing on a training ground. He was amazing with a ball at his feet. But when I mentioned earlier about attitude, I don't know what Roger's attitude was like, but he was on a different planet. You're told to turn up in a collar and tie for a game, and he'd come in with a shirt with Hawaiian birds all over it with like big open neck, you know. But what a lovely lad! What a fantastic, skillful player. And not a lot of people know this, but he actually went out to America and played for the Pittsburgh a football team out there, and I think he played 5 or 6 games over there in America. There are stories that he went down the wrong road and got into a bit of trouble and might even visited Her Majesty's, but I don't actually know that for real. But I know Roger was a massive character, but at 16, 17, 18, boy, could he play. And I think if he'd have had a better character and a bit less of the attitude, and he was high maintenance, as we call him in the game. But yeah, my random one is Roger Winter, never made the team, but boy, oh boy, Millwall had a talented youngster there, one of the best I've seen. So yeah, they're my 3. The Leatherhead Lip, Roger Winter and Peter Anderson.
Well, I'll chuck in that I was actually at the age of, 1982, I think that was, 83.
82, yeah.
Yeah, we won it. Was that the year we won it as well?
We won it. We won it a few times, but we won it there. That team had
Brentford
young
in the final, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the final against Brentford. Alan McCleary, Teddy Sheringham youngsters, Andy Massey as a 21-year-old, Roger Winter. Yeah. I think the old Paul Sanson might have been the oldest player.
Yeah, he was the goalkeeper. Yeah. And I was there. I remember it well. Brilliant. I used to love going to the Evening Standard five-a-sides. It was stuff like that should be brought back, even if it's just the veterans. I remember watching a few years ago. They did it with the world teams. So England, Germany and stuff like that. And the England team wasn't that good that day, but it was good to see some of the old players. But let's just chuck in a few random ones. One that's sitting in front of me now, and I know people will laugh at this. Gary Taylor-Fletcher came with a very, very, very talented career behind. We can't say he didn't have a good career, but when he came to us, it was just at a very wrong time. Where else can I go? Where am I going to go?
I mean, Dion Dublin.
Yes.
Dion Dublin scored for us in the playoffs against bloody Birmingham. There were people like that. Andy Impey, you mentioned earlier. It was just Abu Fofana. Oh, my word.
And the Italian guy who was actually head and shoulders above every single player in the park. I did say his name earlier on, didn't I? Hold on a minute. Let's go back. Diego Fabrini.
Cool.
Fabrini. What a player he was, yeah.
It's funny how you remember players, because I've got a lad that played with me, John Bartley. And John Bartley was playing for Welling at the time, and he was a fireman. He was a full-time job fireman. And I think we paid £15,000 for John to sign from Welling, where he was knocking in goals for fun in the what is now the National League. But what fans probably don't know is John joined as a full-time professional footballer, but I think he had size 14 or 15 feet. And I've never seen plates like it. Unbelievable. So things that stand out when you talk about iconic, John Bartley, Paul Goddard. I have no idea how we managed to spend £800,000 on Paul Goddard, but to me that was a random.
Well for Derby, though, wasn't he? Wasn't he one of the top goal scorers in the first division at the time?
Yeah, but when you talk random, it's like, hang on, the club's just got 800k out. Wow, that's random, isn't it? And all of a sudden, we've gone for one of the best strikers. Grew up at West Ham, scored goals all the way through youth reserves and first division top quality football. And there's little old Millwall just shelling out 800,000. So yeah, random for me. And I mentioned Henry as well, that Sir Guy Urin. I mean, I have no idea. A dozen games in the mid-90s. Where's this Russian connection at Millwall? I have no idea. Where did that come from? Perhaps others know.
They both come from Spartak Moscow. I've got no idea.
Strange, isn't it? Random.
Didn't they have to get out of the country? Didn't they have to get out of the country because one of them was on a murder charge or something? I know it was something out like that.
I mean,
random like that.
I
But
absolutely.
Gary, if you're
love
leaving the
this.
country because you're chasing away from a murder charge, you don't play for Millwall, do you?
No, you don't. You don't. But I mentioned this to Henry before we come on as well. The three Scottish guys who signed, I think it was Jason Dare, David not Sinclair. Where has he gone? Where's he gone?
There was Sinclair. Yeah, he was a defender. There were four of them, right?
David Sinclair, Jason Dare. There was the Paul Hartley and Stevie Crawford.
Yep.
Those four. Where'd they come from?
Rafe Rovers with Jimmy Nicholl when he came down as manager. South London Press. That was our first season down after we got relegated, right? From the what was then the second division, now the first division championship, whatever you want to call it. We drew 1-0 Wrexham on the first game of the season, and everyone.
Yeah, just go to show you how even back then, in terms of nowadays, we're connected. Zoom. There's videos flying around the world of players' performances. Even back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, how we were able to bring in Italian, Scottish, Russian players. And I'd still like to know how my first coach at Millwall, Billy Neal, was the first coach. So everybody knows Billy, 50-odd years at the club. But my second coach was Oscar Arthey, an Argentinian. How the hell did we get an Argentinian coach in to look after our youth team?
Brilliant.
What?
Yeah. He had the first year of that FA Youth Cup winning side. But where did we get an Argentinian coach from? So people have connections, and I get it, but even back then we were able to bring in Russians and Argentinians and God knows what else. So we were well connected. There's connections out there. People were, talking or scouting, whatever. So yeah, it's interesting. I've got another one here because I can't actually pronounce his name. I do know his first name. His name's Laser, and that's what attracted me about 3 years ago. Stodsavljevic came on trial, and I thought, wow, there's a name. Is he an international? I don't think he played a game either, but what a name. Laser Stodsavljevic. And when you hear that, you think, wow, we've got a decent player coming in on trial here. And I don't think anybody's heard of him apart from me.
Here's the thing, actually, Phil. Steve Lovell. He's actually down on my list as a forward. I put that man as a centre-back before he became a forward.
He was actually a right-back.
Right-back, that's it.
Yeah. I think Jules Graham needed a... It's not totally unheard of because I played my Football League debut against West Ham. Tony Tagg was the striker. And if you said to me as a random striker, I wouldn't have put Taggy up front with anybody, So yeah, it's not unheard of that defenders are sort of like press ganged into action. And I think Steve went up front, and the rest is history. Him and John Fashion were a fantastic partnership. But Steve was a defender by trade.
Well, you talk of Fashion, he was he was a player I was going to bring up. Actually, he was the first probably standout striker I remember, along with Stevie Lovell and Lovell and Lowndes.
Yeah,
and Henry, the guy who I was trying to think of earlier, who passed the back pass to for the Derby striker to score in the playoffs, was Pat van den Houw.
Oh, Pat, yeah,
Van den Houw, yes.
And we were signing good players. He'd had an international career.
Good player. Was he Welsh?
He was. Right? With a name like that, he was Welsh.
Yeah.
And I'll stake my life on it that Pat came from South East London, and I'd also love to see Pat van den Houw and Terry Ehrlich in a 50-50 tackle. Because I tell you what, Pat van den Houw was something. He liked that tackle. Oh, dear me.
I was going to do a bit of searching. How many games did he play for Tottenham? Because he must have played over 200 for Tottenham, mustn't he?
That's right. I'd forgotten he was even there till you just mentioned it then.
Yeah. And what's he doing now? Patrick William Roger van den Houw. How many games did he play? Let's have a quick shifty. Wikipedia. 116. Well, actually, started at Birmingham. 123 for Birmingham. 135 for Everton. 116 for Tottenham. At 27 for us. And then he went on to... he's ended his career with us, really. He went on to an Icelandic team after that. Because that's where I thought he'd come from. But, no, South African team. That's where I thought he'd come from over there, but maybe not. But... he was born in Belgium. There you go.
Was he?
Yeah.
I'd stake me life that he was from South East London. His family or his brother. He's got a brother as well, who I know. Yeah, I'm certain they're South East London based there, but I might be wrong. But
he's currently Where is he working now? I've got he's in an Everton shirt at the moment, but maybe he's not because he doesn't say anything past 97. But he managed a team in South Africa. But anyway, just chuck one last one in. I'm going to fly up the list and chuck one last one in. Here we go. I found him. Sean St. Ledger.
Sean St. Ledger.
Yeah. And we'll leave it on that one. And we'll take a break. That was a bit of fun, guys, and I really enjoyed that. And here we go. We've had one Italian play for us, and we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Jamaicans. There you go. On that random note, I'll hand over to Bethany Warren's talking about Sands United, and we're back with a few notices after that.
We know that some men can struggle to talk about how they're feeling after the death of a baby. We hope that by building trust and a common bond, by playing together as a team, many more will be able to break their silence about baby loss and help others to do the same. Sands United FC has already saved the lives of men left feeling like they had no one to turn to in their grief. Are you a father who has lost a child? Talk to Sands United. They will help. Contact them on sufclondon@gmail.com. That's sufclondon@gmail.com. They will help.
Thanks, Bethany. Welcome back, guys. The Millwall Community Trust is offering children and young people aged 6 to 14 who play football the opportunity to attend their Millwall Community Trust Player Performance Pathway. The Player Performance Pathway has been designed to create a clear route into the Millwall Academy for players with the required ability. The new pathway will also create a performance squad to represent Millwall's CT in the Junior Premier League for the 2022-23 season, as well as a development squad who will compete in a showcase games over the course of that season. Trials are ongoing, so if you're interested, please email Tim Sells for a form. He will send back a link to you. Once completed, he will then contact you about upcoming trials. This is a fantastic opportunity for players who want to take their game to the next level. Email Tim on tsells@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll repeat that. That's tsells@millwallcommunity.org.uk.
Harvey Brown needs your help to help the homeless who are out on the streets this cold winter. Harvey asks if you would please donate sleeping bags, hat, gloves, socks, etc. You can arrange your donation to be delivered or collected on Facebook, where you can let Harvey's mum and dad know, the Victoria and Dean Brown, or just phone 07949 285 683. That's 07949 285 683. And Harvey sends a big thank you to all you fans in anticipation.
Legislative guidance on Plan B COVID-19 restrictions have now been issued to Millwall Football Club. Proof of a negative lateral flow test or vaccine certificate is now a requirement for entry to matches at the Den. Instructions regarding proof are available on the club website. Importantly, the government guidance issued on the 13th of the 12th, 2021 stipulates that vaccine cards presented after your jab is not permissible evidence, and you therefore need to download the COVID pass per their instructions. Supporters without smartphones can obtain a letter from the NHS which provides their vaccination status. The club appreciates that this will be difficult to receive any new letter for our first game under these restrictions, and in such cases, a negative lateral flow test will be sufficient for entry to the ground. Supporters under the age of 18 do not need to present any such evidence. Showing their season ticket / membership card or match ticket will be suffice. The most significant change is regard to the COVID checks. These are carried out by club staff and will now take place at the temporary turnstiles first installed early last season for restricted attendances. The temporary turnstiles are situated at the Zampa Road and Surrey Canal gates. All foot traffic should pass through these two entrances. The Stockholm Road entrance is for vehicles only. These adjustments help to ensure a wider COVID-secure environment within the entire stadium footprint. Supporters are politely advised to arrive earlier than they normally would to help ensure prompt and efficient entry through the checkpoints. The club again requests that supporters are understanding of the fact that these restrictions are government legislation and therefore legally enforceable. They are not the choice of the club. The club reminds all fans to please respect and work with their staff who are carrying out the checks. Plus, also, do not message me online and say that this is coming from me about some big wide conspiracy. This has come from the club and the government only. Be nice to people out there.
Thanks, Henry. Don't forget, you'll be able to listen to the No One Likes Us Talking team bring reports from our games, both home and away. There are also updates on Millwall Community Matters too. Listen to Maritime Radio broadcasting on 96.5 FM. Lastly, we'll be back in a month's time with our No One Likes Us Talking monthly podcast team. And I'm going to say, guys, that's been really entertaining tonight. So thank you so much. Phil, thank you for your input. Kai and Henry. I'm smiling. That's been really fun tonight. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Henry. Thanks, Kai.
Cheers, gents. All right.
Cheers.
Take care. Stay safe.
Take care.
Come on, you lines.